Oh, let's get into it. We welcome in two of the best on hardwood, CBS NBA insider Bill Reiter and the coach, NBA Finals champion, Coach of the Year, and analyst extraordinaire Avery Johnson. Fellas, for all the storylines coming into this postseason, we get chalk out east. Miami and Boston earning their way into this very moment. Game one by the numbers. Heat given a bucket. Totals a slim 203.5. Both sides are trending heavily towards the under this postseason. Coach, lead us off. What do you see between these two tonight?
Yeah, this is a tough series, man. We obviously got the best four teams left in basketball, but with this Celtics-Heat matchup, I think it's going to come down to who can dominate the backboards, who can rebound the basketball. Obviously, Kyle Lowry is not healthy, which I think that's still going to be okay for Miami because Victor Oladipo, man, he's been playing on another level. The versatility the Heat has, Jimmy Butler is playing out of his mind. And to see those guys, PJ Tucker, Oladipo, Bam, when he switches out on those pick and rolls against especially Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, man, this is going to be just a battle of wheels. But I just think with this series, the Heat, if they dominate the boards like they did against Philadelphia, that'll keep Boston out of transition. And it's also going to limit Boston on their second chance points, especially on those offensive rebounds and kick out for threes. So it's going to be very important for the Heat to dominate the backboards. But I'm picking the Heat in this game one. And because I think they're ready to go. Home court advantage is going to pay dividends for them in game one. I think Jimmy Butler's ready to prove that he can not only get this team off to a good start, but keep the momentum going all series long.
Coach, I'm with you. I love Miami in this game, even though I think the Celtics might have a slight edge over the course of the series. But we've seen a couple things that I think, for me at least, make the Heat even -2 the right bet. The first is what Coach just touched on. Jimmy Butler's been extraordinary, and his role players, the guys around him, Oladipo and his resurgence in the postseason, and Max Strus and all the other names we can throw out there, have simply played better in Miami than on the road. That tends to happen with guys who aren't superstars. So I think that gives Miami a boost. And one of the big things the Celtics have been extraordinary at this year is in-series adjustments. They'll lose a game or a couple games, they'll get dominated, and then Ime Udoka makes such remarkable adjustments game to game that usually obviously you have to have a game for that to happen. So I think for the Heat to be competitive, they have to win this game. It's a crucial game. I think the Celtics probably get the edge going forward, but in this game, I really like Miami -2.
All right, guys, this one is off and running right off the bat here. Al Horford, Marcus Smart, both not expected to play tonight. That news just coming in as those two men will be out for game one. Numbers will obviously shift. We will play them as they lie right now at Caesars Sportsbook, but Horford was such a big piece in that series with Milwaukee for Miami. For Boston, but Jimmy Butler was the driving force for Miami in those wins, in those losses. It was Jimmy. Bill, you're targeting him as your top prop in this matchup tonight.
So, all right, this is a little counterintuitive, and it doesn't seem like this would make sense. But Butler, I think one of the magical things he does on a basketball floor in the postseason, whatever his team needs, he provides. He's got to be the primary scorer. He's the primary scorer. He's got to facilitate. He facilitates. Obviously plays defense regardless, but he's got to take it another level and expel his energy on that frame. In that regard, it happens. And interestingly, guys, and this is why I'm going Butler under his prop point, even though I think the Heat win, in 4 of the 5 Heat home games in this postseason, Butler has been under his point total and under this point total because the other guys around him have played much better. The Heat have shot better at home. They've been more comfortable with those shooters. So even though I think Butler has a big night, and he's obviously the key for this team, I think he actually goes under the point total like we've seen in some really dominating Heat performances at home in this postseason.
Yeah, it could be one of those 20 across the board for the Heat starters and even getting some help off the bench in the form of Tyler Hero. We'll see if that's the game script here in game one. But you get to this point in the season and you're really trying to find the right side of a razor's edge, guys. Players are dialed in, bookmakers, they're working with complete data sets. Bill Reiter, you stand in defiance of them all. Stack up a few of your favorites here for a same-game parlay.
All right, so I didn't bet the under on its own because 204.5 is pretty low. But I think it's probably going to happen. You're talking about two teams outside the Mavs that have the slowest pace of play of the teams that have advanced past the first round of the postseason. 24th for the Celtics pace of play, 28th for the Heat. So you're going to have fewer possessions. I think it'll be a low-scoring game, and I do think the Heat are going to win. So put that all together, I'm going to parlay the under at 204.5 and Jason Tatum's point total at 27.5. And for me, guys, I think it's the remarkable defense of each of these teams. That is their signature when they're playing well, and obviously they are. They're in the conference finals. The slow pace of play and the fact that I think you're going to see a little bit of nerves, certainly from Boston, in this conference finals as they feel each other out.
All right, Bill Reiter taking advantage of that feeling out process there, playing a pair of unders for his same game parlay. But taking a look now at the series price, guys. Heat are your 1 seed. They have home court. They have that certain swagger, but they're positioned as plus money underdogs right now, which may look like value, but if history is any indication, that's advantage Celtics. Road favorites in the conference finals, 11-0 since the year 2000. All that said, Coach, who represents the East on the other side of this series?
The Miami Heat will represent the Eastern Conference in the NBA Finals this year. I'm really sold on the Heat depth. I think they have a little bit more versatility. I think, they come up with a few more loose balls. I'm picking the Heat to win in 7 games. Obviously Boston played extraordinary in Game 7 against Milwaukee Bucks, but I really love the Heat ability to play different styles. If you eliminate Jaylen Brown, which I think Jaylen Brown's going to come up short in this series, Jason Tatum's going to do his thing. I just see the Heat having more firepower, more guys that can create their shot off the dribble. I'm not really sold on Marcus Smart and his health at this stage of the season. Even if he comes back and play, I just think he's going to be very limited. And I don't think Boston has a chance of winning this series unless Marcus Smart is completely healthy. And of course, Al Horford, big 30-point game against Milwaukee. They definitely need him. So unless something changes with the health status of the Heat outside of Kyle Lowry, the Heat wins in 7 games.
All right, so I'm on the other side of this thing than Coach. I think the Celtics win an absolute dogfight. I do think Jaylen Brown will have a really big series. And for me, the Celtics' momentum and confidence and just what they've shown in absolutely destroying that Brooklyn team, going through the defending champions, puts them at the very top, if we did a power ranking of the 4 remaining teams, of those teams that are left. But I want to be wrong. I want Coach to be right. And that's usually the way things go when we disagree, because I actually have a ticket for the Heat to win the whole thing. So my brain tells me it's going to be the Celtics. My heart is rooting for the Heat, or at least my wallet is. And history tells me that I should never, ever disagree with Coach on these things.
All right, fellas, fantastic work as always. Let's take another look at some of that action as Bill Reiter is on the Heat in Game 1. Again, plenty of omissions on the Celtics side. Game 1 prop is Jimmy Butler under his 24.5. And on the series, his head's telling him Celtics, his pocket and his heart telling him Heat. And that's exactly where Coach is as well. He's on the Heat plus 140 on the series price. Also on the Heat here in Game 1.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.